Okay, so in this video, we're going to see a California lawmaker, Isaac Bryan, absolutely expose the GOP's authoritarian playbook right to their faces. Let's watch the full clip, and then I'll give you my thoughts at the end.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I rise in strong support of ACA 8. And like at least 2/3 of you in this room, I read the constitutional amendment, which makes it very clear that we are not approving any maps in this body. We are giving the voters the decision, something that isn't happening in Texas. And even doing that was something we had to debate fiercely. California's responsibility to Californians and Californians' responsibility to this country. We didn't want to be in this situation. The authoritarian in the White House put us in this situation when he used House Republicans in Texas to disenfranchise vulnerable people. After those maps in Texas are approved, a Latino voice in Texas is worth 1/3 of the representation as a white voice. A black voter in Texas is worth 1/5 of the representation of a white voter in Texas. I didn't say 3/5. There was no compromise. I said 1/5. That is the kind of gerrymandering, that is the kind of theft that they are perpetuating. And we can't just sit by and let it happen. We won't just sit by and let it happen. But that doesn't mean we lose ourselves. That's why when I was chair of the Elections Committee, I authored an update to the Fair Maps Act that prevented incumbency from being a consideration in map drawing, and every single Republican on this floor voted against it. That's why I authored legislation calling for independent redistricting commissions on school boards and counties and special districts all throughout the state, and every Republican in this House voted against it. How convenient to switch your tone when you are now on the line. When we are stepping up and speaking the way Californians deserve for us to stand up and fight, because we are tired of being the punching bag of this country. When we freely give, when North Carolina is on fire, we show up. When a hurricane hits Florida, we show up. When Texas is flooding, we show up. We don't wait for Canada and Mexico to show up first, like Texas did supporting Los Angeles this year. We come immediately. When we pay $80 billion more in federal taxes than we get back, we don't complain. We know our role is to support others. And when the biggest disaster to ever hit our state hits and we ask for a portion of our own dollars back and you withhold it, we have to change our tone. We have to step up, because your silence is deafening. When they took health care and food and veterans assistance and they made it harder for students to go to college, and they put trillions of dollars in national debt, and you said nothing, that forced us to step into the void. When they held our #1 public university hostage for $1 billion of California tax dollars, and you have said nothing, we had to step into that void. You talk about fighting fire with fire and how we shouldn't do that, while simultaneously a member of your own caucus just yesterday asked the Department of Justice and Pam Bondi to investigate us criminally. I took that personally, that you didn't say anything. We are not just going to sit by and let our democracy crumble. Here in California, we're standing on business.
I mean, the first thing that just jumps out at me is how completely and utterly broken their brains have to be to think that's a normal response. You disagree with a piece of legislation, a constitutional amendment no less, that gives power to the voters. And your first move is to demand a criminal investigation from the Attorney General? You have to call it what it is, a threat. They've completely moved past the idea of a political debate. This reveals their true goal, you know? It's all about creating a chilling effect, scaring opponents into silence by bogging them down with legal threats. This is pure intimidation from the authoritarian playbook, and it's so revealing. It's a flashing red light that tells you they know they can't win in the court of public opinion. They can't make a compelling case to the actual voters that their position is the right one. So they skip that part entirely and try to criminalize the disagreement itself. It's fundamentally anti-democratic. Honestly, it's just a pathetic admission of failure. Writing that letter is the political equivalent of flipping the board game over, because you're losing. It's a tantrum that exposes their complete and utter contempt for the voters they are supposed to be serving. And then you get to the hypocrisy of it all, which is just, it's on another level. For them to suddenly be the champions of fair maps is laughable. It's a complete and total farce, and he has the receipts right there in his hand. He literally lists the bills, legislation for independent commissions, the Fair Maps Act, things that would actually create fairness. And what was their response? No. Every single one of them. No, no, no. But now, all of a sudden, when they can't control the outcome, they're deeply concerned. It's a miracle. You can just see how manipulative the whole thing is. Their definition of fairness is simply whatever system guarantees that they win. The moment a process doesn't benefit them, it's suddenly corrupt and needs a federal investigation. It's just so disingenuous you can't even take it seriously. And you can't just pretend your own voting record doesn't exist. He calls them out on it perfectly. You don't get to lecture anyone about fair processes when you literally voted against them at every single opportunity. Your convenient newfound concern is just a lie. It's that simple. But I think the most powerful part of the whole thing is how he connects it to the national picture. He elevates it from just some squabble in the California Assembly to what it really is, a frontline battle in a much larger war. This entire situation exists in a broader context. He's right. California is being forced to take these steps as a defensive measure against the absolute garbage that's happening in places like Texas. The GOP is actively disenfranchising black and brown voters in a brazen effort to rig the entire system, and that has national consequences. So when the California GOP starts complaining, you have to see them for what they are, active participants. They are playing their role in a coordinated nationwide assault on democracy. Their silence on the voter suppression in Texas makes them complicit, and their outrage now makes them hypocrites. And that's the real takeaway, isn't it? You don't get to stand by and watch your party colleagues set fire to democracy in one state and then act shocked when someone in another state grabs a fire extinguisher. You enabled this. Your party started this fire, so your complaints about the consequences are completely and utterly meaningless. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. While you're down there, hit the like button and subscribe. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.